On 18th June 1997, someone broke into a hangar at Boca Raton Airport in Florida and stole a car. Today, the car is valued at around $25 million. The owner has never seen it since. It was the original 1963 Aston Martin DB5. The actual car Sean Connery drove in Goldfinger and Thunderball. Machine guns behind the indicators, a real ejector seat, smoke screen, oil slick, revolving number plates. A Florida developer named Anthony Pugliese had bought it at Sotheby's in 1986 for about $250,000. 11 years later, thieves tore the hangar gate off its hinges, cut the alarm, chained the car to a tow truck and dragged it into the night. So here is the question that runs through this whole story. How does a car designed in 1963 end up worth $25 million? It is not the engine, it is not the leather, it is just two words no factory can stamp into metal: James Bond. Being Bond's car is the most valuable role in the car industry. Call it the Bond's premium, and you can measure it three ways: what these cars sell for, what Bond does to the car you can actually buy, and how far car makers will go to win the role and keep it. Before this is over, the Bond car Elon Musk bought and still cannot finish, the one Toyota built, only two off because the actor was too tall. And the 7 years Bond walked out of the Aston Martin for a German badge. Start with what they sell for. Aston Martin built just over 1,000 DB5s in the 1960s. 4 were turned into Bond cars. One is the stolen one still missing. Of the survivor, one sold in 2019 at a monetary auction for $6.4 million, a record for DB5. Then Aston did something almost no car maker does. Between 2020 and 2022, they went back to the old factory at Newport Panel and built 25 brand new DB5s from scratch. 4,500 hours of handwork each. They called it the Goldfinger continuation, and they sold every car one for £2.75 million. Sit with that. A car designed in 1963 became a multi-million pound new car in 2022 purely because it wore the Bond's name. It's happening for No Time to Die. In 2021, Aston built 8 DB5 replicas for the stunts. Carbon fiber bodies, modern engines, minigun behind the headlights. One of those replicas, not even a real 1960s car, sold at a Christie's charity auction in 2022 for £2.9 million. And the money does not just sit in with the cars that survive. It burns in the ones that do not. For Spectre in 2015, Aston designed a one-off called the DB10 just for the film. Never sold to the public. They built 10. 7 were destroyed on camera, most of them in a single chase through Rome. The reported value of the cars wrecked across the film was about $37 million. One of those 2 survivors was auctioned for charity in 2016 for £2.4 million. They will spend $37 million destroying cars because the film is worth more. Which is the second measure and the bigger one? Forget the cars for a second. Look at what Bond does to the showroom. In 1995, for the first time since 1964, Bond got out of an Aston Martin. Golden Eye, Pierce Brosnan's first film, and the car was a BMW Z3. A small German roadster. BMW opened pre-orders before the car reached a single showroom and took around 15,000 orders. The entire first model year sold out on the back of Bond's film. The campaign won the industry's top marketing award that year. BMW did not play Bond to sell cars. Bond sold the cars and BMW just had to show up. Think about what a Bond film actually is. If you build cars, it is a 2-hour advertisement that people all over the world pay money to watch. They watch again for 40 years. There's no billboard on earth like it. And unlike a billboard, this one appreciates. The BMW held the roles for 3 films, the Z3, then the 750i, then the Z8. In the Z8's film, the car gets sliced in half by a helicopter's saw. Relax, the car they cut in half was not real Z8. It was a fiberglass shell on a kit car chassis with a Chevrolet V8 underneath. So, if the role is that valuable, what happens when a car maker loses it? A fight. Ford had taken full control of Aston Martin by 1991. When GoldenEye came around, BMW arrived with an aggressive marketing partnership that Ford and Aston did not match in time. So, for 7 years, the most British spy on screen drove German cars. Ford wanted him back for Die Another Day in 2002. Ford outbid BMW and put Bond back into an Aston Martin. The part had become something studios and car makers negotiate over like a contract. Because everyone had now seen what the BMW years proved. Being Bond's car moves metal. Once you understand that, the strangest stories in Bond's history start to make sense. These cars do not just sell. They become legend and people will do absurd things to own a piece of one. The Spy Who Loved Me, 1977. Bond drives a Lotus Esprit off a pier and it turns into a submarine. That underwater Lotus was real. A Florida company built it for around $100,000. A working submarine driven by electric motors, piloted by a driver in scuba gear suit sitting inside. It ended up in a Long Island storage unit with the rent prepaid for 10 years. Nobody came back. The unit was auctioned and abandoned, and a couple paid under $100 for the contents, opened the door and found a Lotus submarine. In 2013, it sold at auction for £616,000. The buyer was Elon Musk. He said he would fit a Tesla powertrain and make it transform and swim for real. That was over a decade ago. In 2017, he quietly admitted he had given up. The man building rockets and humanoid robots could not make a 1977 movie prop swim. Then there is Toyota. You only live twice, 1967, set in Japan. Toyota offered its flagship, the 2000 GT. They built only 351 of them ever, and a Shelby tuned example sold in 2022 for over $2.5 million. Still the most expensive Japanese car ever sold at auction. But there was a problem on set. Sean Connery was 6'2" and he could not physically fit inside this tiny coupe. So Toyota hand-built two open-top versions just for the film, white with black interiors. They never made another. The only two open 2000 GTs on Earth exist because the actor was too tall. Which brings us to today. The Bond car you actually walk in and buy right now is the new Aston Martin Vantage S. 671 horsepower, twin-turbo V8, 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, around $199,500, not 25 million. But it is the closest most people will ever get to the role. As for the stolen DB5, the $25 million one, in 2022, an art recovery investigator said that he had traced it to a private collection in the Middle East. Pugliese was paid out by his insurers years ago, so it is not even legally his to recover anymore. The car itself has never come home, and that is the whole point. The most valuable thing in the car's world is not horsepower or carbon fiber or a badge, it is a story strong enough that 60 years later, people are still chasing one missing car across the planet. That is what two words on the number plate are worth.